Hello, comic fans. Here's Al Gray. I struggled for years and years, but finally now I have given in to my tiny but mighty gimme, gimme, gimme devil. So when the opportunity arose, I got me the complete El Mercenario by Vicente Segrelles. 14 albums in two beautiful slipcases. What can you have against dragons, flying dragons, carrying armored knights, who save naked ladies from unbelievable predicaments? As gorgeous as a lot of these panels look, they have an archaic quality from the rich magic potion of legends, fairy tales, conspiracy theories, and pulp novels. Vicente Segrelles formed a very unique fantasy landscape with heroes and heroines whom he sends through his elaborate adventures like little dolls. Yes, it's true that the characters in this adventure playground of a comic are rather one dimensional projections. And yes, it's also true that the plausibility of the setting is almost zero. But that doesn't change the fact that El Mercenario is wonderful escapism literature. Perhaps even the opposite. Well, it's fantasy after all. The story takes place up above in the Himalaya region around the year 1000. Underground volcanic energy enabled the flourishing of an advanced culture, a religious sect with a wise head smurf, but of course also the dark antagonist in the neighboring castle. As the story progresses, it becomes more complicated, since this Himalayan culture makes contact with a parallel dimension in which Zeus and all the Greek gods dwell. And judging by this comic, they're quite a mean and murderous bunch. But there are reptiloids, of course, combined with allusions to Conan Doyle's Lost World as well. Towards the end of the 14 albums long story, it is maybe a bit too much of everything, including a more than generous dose of science fiction. The comic is, of course, carried by Segrelles' great pictures. The first 9 albums are painted entirely in oil. That should be unique in the comic world. Sure, there are many comic artists who paint their comics in watercolors or gouache, but oil? I don't think even Alex Ross did that. And there are good reasons why this technique is so seldomly used in comics. First of all, it takes a lot of time. Segreyes said that it took him 4 days to finish just one page. And when you look at some pages, you will believe him. Secondly, you're not very flexible with your art. When you painted one panel, you won't be too inclined to change anything afterwards. So the panel arrangements on some pages are maybe a bit stiff sometimes. One reason for the fascination of this world is certainly the long period of time that its creator was able to occupy himself with it. There was a lot of time to decorate it with loving details, lots of time to build models. And Segreyes is a gifted model maker who apparently filled his entire apartment with models of ships and airplanes and whatever else. Even an impressive scale castle found its place in his stairwell. The albums from the German Splitter Verlag that I'm showing you here have essays from Segreyes himself in their bonus section, in which he tells us about these hobbies and inspirations. These are actually additions that, for me, make these albums even more valuable and even more entertaining. In album 10, he switched to the computer, obviously a good old IBM PC with Photoshop. This was end of the 90s, so the possibilities could not be that fancy. Regardless, the transition from pure oil paintings to digital simulations of oil painting worked almost seamlessly, and it gave him new possibilities in terms of depicting high detail scenery and sci fi technology. Even though I like the oil paint magic much more than the digital simulated efforts towards the end, but yeah, I have to give him that. I have seen much worse digital created comics. One even can easily think that they are oil painted as well if one doesn't look too closely at them. Yes, so much for the work of Vicente Segrelles, a grandmaster of European comic art who can rightly be described as unique. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.